Hey, cycling community, this is Steve, Grusis the Cycling Greek. For those of you familiar with the channel, you're probably looking behind me right now and thinking, hey, that's not your regular office, and you'd be right. My wife and I recently moved, and you're probably thinking, moved? You moved to the other house about 18 months ago, and we did. Any reason I can give you for the move that we did just now starts with the words, my wife, so everything else after that doesn't matter. But in the middle of that move, I'd race at Copperopolis, and that's part of the reason, a small part, on why I sucked. The other part is I'm heavier than I was in last year, and I'll be doing a video in the future on why that is. Now you probably also noticed the title. And yeah, it is a little clickbaity, but maybe not that much. You'll get a better understanding once we do story time at the end of the race. So let's go to that race right now.
Not quite there, but you hit the point all of a sudden you feel light. You start to feel, oh, I feel light.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Quickly turn your attention to the asphalt. About 4 miles out of the 21-mile loop is asphalt like this, nice and smooth. The rest of it ranges from sucks to I'll never ride this again. One of the things I like about this race, other than that it has a separate start 65 plus category, is that it starts in the second flight. I didn't have to get up at dark 30, drive over 2 hours, and be ready to race by 8 a.m. Before the gun went off, there was a little bit of discussion about the notes that the promoter sent out regarding the new pavement on the Widowmaker. The Widowmaker is on the back half of the course, near the finish. That's a twisty, steep descent, which is exceedingly bumpy and very dangerous. I never read the notes because I was in the middle of moving. And at that point I wish I had, because then I could have used my lighter wheels instead of these training wheels that I'm on now, because they're a lot stronger. Oh well, it just gave me another excuse for getting dropped on the climb. Because of what I had available to me, I was on 24mm tires, and I was running them around 80 plus pounds. It seemed like I was bouncing up as much as I was going forward. In spite of the move and the time off the bike, I was feeling pretty good during the warm-up. I was also feeling pretty good on this first section leading up to the feed zone. I was biding my time, making sure I put myself in good position by the time we got to the feed zone, because the feed zone is at the base of the main climb, and boy, those roads are bumpy. They're much worse than what you're seeing right now. Jumping forward 1.5 miles right before we enter the feed zone, you can see why you need to be warmed up, because the climbing starts almost right away. I'm kind of in the middle of our 13-rider pack. Now there's a rider way out there, so I'm not sure if it's one of ours or not, because I've just been concentrating on the bumps and then getting over them. So this is the feed zone hill, and right now it's about 4%, and it works its way up to 6%. And again, those bumps just make it absolutely hideous for me. Extra power that I apply seems to go more toward the bounce factor for me. Now I'm sure everyone else has the same situation, but they probably have a better wheel setup than I do. As my frustration rises, so does my heart rate. By the time I get to the top of the feed zone bump, my heart rate's in the mid 140s. My max is around the low 160s. My FTP, by the way, is probably like 260, certainly no higher than 265. Jumping ahead just a bit past the undulations, we are now on the proper climb. There was a bit of a gap going over that bump, and then I used Matt's wheel here to help get me back up to the group, or at least the 6 strongest that were in front of us. My heart rate had recovered just a bit, and even though my heart rate was well above my FTP, I wasn't panicking quite yet, especially since those in front of us seemed to be calling a temporary truce. This entire climb is 2.25 miles, and there are some steep pitches right in the middle. Those are going to be tough for me. Now, David Montgomery here from Davis Bike Club is deciding to have a little bit of a dig, and so I was in position, so I just got on his wheel, and it looks like we have a little bit of a gap. Now, I didn't know we had a gap at the time, but it wouldn't matter because I was just going to stay on his wheel. At a certain point on this climb, there's actually smooth pavement. Earlier I said that there's maybe 4 miles that have smooth pavement in this entire loop, but I think it's more like 6 miles. Earlier in this video, before the actual race started, I talked about my weight, my increased weights, and we just passed a curve there that took us to about between 9 and 10%. I'm rather surprised that people didn't pass me on that and I'd be toward the back. I now want to turn your attention to the rider in the S-Works that just passed me on the left. That is Lindsey Blount, and he's being followed by Steve Clifton. Lindsey's in the Southern District. He hails from Santa Barbara, and I remember his name back in the early 2000s during my Palace Indian gaming days. Now, we didn't do a lot of racing down south, but we did a little bit of racing down south, and he was one of the riders to watch. And now, 20 years later, it looks like he has not missed a beat at all. He's making a move and he's splitting the field. And of course, I'm on the wrong part of that split. While I do reconnect, my heart rate isn't anywhere near what I'm feeling right now. That reconnection is tenuous. We are now on very nice road. That gives me extra energy, but it also gives everyone else extra energy. There's another counter, and then we're just all split apart in groups, and my group, unfortunately, is a group of one, and I'm at the back. Well, that's it. At 3.8 miles, I am dropped. The climb goes for another mile. Soon after this climb, I connect with another rider, and we trade poles for the rest of the race, not killing ourselves, but wanting to get to the finish, where then we can go for the sprint. So let's take this opportunity to go to the Widowmaker to see what the pavement is actually like. Okay, jumping forward, we just started the climb. And right now, I'm pretty happy that I have the wheels that I have because I don't know where that pavement starts. Apparently, it starts about halfway down. So I'm following Randy Floyd from Body Concepts, who is starting to put some distance on me. Now, the last couple of years, even in my old age, I was racing this thing. I was going down it with wild abandon. But now I'm being super conservative. I'm in the middle of a move. I don't want to get hurt, and then my wife is really going to hurt me after that. And I don't want to push my luck. To give you an idea how bumpy this is, the GoPro has a smoothing algorithm, so it's probably worse than what you're seeing. Also, I'm doing my best not to white knuckle this, but I have to keep a good grip on it because I don't want my hands bouncing off the handlebars. So that, of course, translates to my shoulders, to my back, to my neck, and to my eyes. But the fun doesn't stop there. I have my helmet hitting the top of my sunglasses, so we have that little bit of bouncing that's going on. So what you're seeing going on right now is a lot of focus, a few opas, and a little bit of cussing. About a third of a mile later, I finally make it to the smooth stuff. I was so glad I didn't read that promoter's note because I would have been tempted to stick on my lighter race wheels. So now I have to catch Randy before the finish line. Now, this is the first lap. But the same thing happened in the second lap. Each time I caught Randy with about 500 meters to go. With both of my forward cameras running out of battery, let's go to the last lap at the finish and see how that turns out. This is probably one of the few sprints I'll ever win. You'll notice when I cross the finish line, they're putting it away. This is how long we were out there. All right, let's go to story time. Story time. Lindsey Blount and Steve Clifton broke away. I assume that happened on that first lap, first climb. On the second lap, going down the Widowmaker toward the finish, Lindsey's front or rear brake failed, and so he had to back off quite a bit, and that gave Steve Clifton enough where he won the race. Lindsey came in second. Now, Lindsey wasn't the only person with disc brake problems. Matt Peterson, Body Concepts, he was in that first chase group. He lost his front brake, and as he put it, half his rear brake. And so he missed out on the podium. He came in something like sixth. Now, Lindsey said he had bled his brakes before the race. I don't know about Matt's situation. Now, I've always spoken before, every once in a while, about needing to buy a new bike. I mean, the Colnago I have is pretty cool, but it's 2005, and I'm just not a fan. I've never been a fan of disc brakes, probably because it's something that I can't work on. I'm sure if I studied it, I could work on it, but rim brakes for the type of riding on it that I do is fine for me. Let's see, next story is that Lindsey was telling me that he had a friend that was going to come down and do the race, and he wanted to know about the course because he'd never done it before. And I had done this video on the Copperopolis course some years back, and so they're watching it. And the problem is that his wife was watching it too. And so when he gets to the part about the Widowmaker, his wife says, "No, you're not going." All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe. Oh yeah, hit those comments. And speaking of comments, I posted that question on the disc brakes on the NCNCA Facebook page. Check it out. So there were some valid comments made. All right, that's it. Until the next one.